Good evening, listeners. Today I have a very, very special guest in Holland. I am, as you know, visiting Holland, and I asked Mr. Ronald Van Raak for an interview, and he consented in this. And I'm very glad to have him on the show tonight. So, Mr. Van Raak,
of course,
welcome on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I know this is a tape broadcast, so we're taping it, and we're taping it in Holland. So it is here day and it isn't night yet, but nevertheless, we're going to make it better. Mr. Van Raak, we know you in St. Maarten as the person that always talks on St. Maarten. And as I told you, I was here. And St. Maarten isn't that much important to the Netherlands. Yeah. But let's go back to who is Mr. Van Raak? Where does this interest for the islands come? Have you ever visited the islands?
Of course. I also visited, of course, St. Maarten. Mm-hmm. And like many people in the Netherlands, I fell in love with the islands.
You're kidding.
I see that there are beautiful islands with beautiful people, but also islands with a lot of troubles, a lot of problems, and especially in St. Maarten, there's a big difference between a very wealthy and mighty elite, a small group of people with an awful lot of money, and of course, a lot of people who are in poverty, have a very difficult life, mothers who cannot feed their children, men who cannot find a job, and also, I see that St. Maarten has grown very much. There are a lot of immigrants, and maybe 25 years ago, people tell me St. Maarten was
all our problems.
St. Maarten was a small community, and now I see that the people in St. Maarten are becoming a majority on their own island.
We'll continue that, but first. Who is this Van Raak? Van Raak, what is your background? What have you studied?
I'm a philosopher.
A philosopher?
I'm a philosopher, yes.
A philosopher?
A philosopher. I studied philosophy. I teach philosophy at the University of Amsterdam. And then I became engaged in the Socialist Party. Mm-hmm. And first, in 2003, I became a senator for the Socialist Party.
Yeah, you was in the first chamber.
In the first chamber. I was quite young then.
Yeah.
And now
you were the youngest one, I believe.
No, not that.
From the SP, I believe that I lived here and I heard about it, that you were one of the young person that was dropped there in the first. And while the Senate was all these old, great gentlemen most of the time. That had
but you can learn a lot in Senate. So the Socialist Party always wants some young people in the Senate. Mm-hmm. Because there is no high school for politics, but in the Senate you can learn an awful lot. And I learned a lot about politics in the Senate.
The philosopher Van Raak.
Yeah.
Where were you born, Mr. Van Raak?
1969.
Where?
In Amsterdam? No, in the south, near Tilburg. South of Tilburg, in a small village near the border.
Well, a Catholic background then.
Yes, I'm a Roman Catholic.
A Roman
Catholic background, yes. Yeah.
And then come into the big city or go into The Hague, whatever we call it.
Yeah, I studied in Rotterdam.
In Rotterdam? Erasmus?
Yes. And then I started, when I was finished, I did my PhD in Amsterdam, University of Amsterdam.
Yeah. And when you were studying, when you were a young man, a young philosopher, did you ever thought of the islands of the kingdom because the kingdom is the Netherlands and the Caribbean islands? And
yes.
Even in those days with Suriname. Yeah. But Suriname left in 75, I believe.
Yeah.
But growing up, studying as a young philosopher, did you have any ideas of what these islands are?
No.
When did that start?
Well, nobody in the Netherlands really knows much about St. Maarten. And that is a very big problem because we are one kingdom, but we don't know very much about each other. And especially in the Netherlands, people know nothing about St. Maarten. Some people go there on holiday. But they only go to Front Street, not to Back Street. They only know the hotels and the
jewelry stores.
But they don't know about St. Maarten. There's a totally different St. Maarten. and we don't know about that. And when I became a senator in 2003, in 2006 I became member of the second chamber. But even when I was a senator, I became engaged with the islands because they were my subject. I had to
talk about them as a subject.
Yes, of course.
And why did you choose a subject, or wasn't there any other subject you could get? So you think, well, I'll grab that as a subject, or was this some kind of a sentiment that drew you to this subject?
We were very small, so I had a lot of subjects. But also, I was, even before that, interested that in why do people want to be part of the kingdom? And especially, why do people in the Caribbean still want to be part of a small country in Europe? And that is a very interesting question, because when you look at the situation, it's very strange. When you look at the Caribbean, some islands are independent, some islands are part of a kingdom, some islands are part of the Netherlands. It's very different. And one of the things I learned is that from Europe we look at the Caribbean as one, but when you look at the islands, you see how totally different they are. Yeah. Aruba is totally different from Curaçao, is totally different from Bonaire. Even Saba and Statia are totally different. But still, of course, there are a lot of connections in families and working. And when I speak somebody on St. Martin, especially, for example, the people in Parliament, most of them were born outside of St. Martin.
Yes. Because, it's the St. Martin and Anguilla. I should mention Anguilla. That's a small island in front of St. Martin. Yeah. Because a lot of St. Martin has that connection because they came from Anguilla or whatever. But we had famine, famine, and our youngsters used to travel all over the Caribbean looking for jobs. Yeah. And whole families, when the shell came to Curaçao, whole family went down to Curaçao. Yeah. And when Lago Oil went to Aruba, whole families went to Aruba. Oranjestad is a typical St. Martin stronghold on Aruba. Yeah. And most of our politicians in St. Martin most of them were born in Aruba, you're right. A lot of people, children are born there. Yeah. A lot of our public servants that have positions, that has key positions, were born on Aruba. And that's exactly where we're going to, because as you yourself is noticing, there is a cultural difference between the islands, but each island has its own cultural thing. And it's not comparable with anything else. No, also political. Yeah. A total political culture, And still, when we hear from politics in Europe, in Holland, it's always based on, let's say, perceptions of Dutch ideas of how a culture should be. Because, can you understand that our political leaders and the people, they all went to the same school? Yeah. Yeah, they all went to the same sport club. Yeah, of course, I know. Yeah. They all was who did theater, went to the same theater school and do the thing. So it's always a one-to-one relation. Yeah. And I was telling, I went to the church yesterday in Dronte, because I lived in Dronte, and I was telling the preacher that, can you imagine that the man, his neighbor, with whom he went to school, whom daughters he knows, that went to study, finished the study and are back on the island, and in need of a job. And now the neighbor man is going to tell you, Mr. Minister, Cecile, you remember Cecile? She finished school. Yeah. She needs a job. Yeah. What can a minister do in that case? Can he say, no, I know Cecile, that's the Dutch term. No, I know Cecile, so that would be privilege, so I can't help Cecile, you have to go to somebody else. and I'll help somebody else.
Yeah.
But we don't have those possibilities.
No, but I know that. I'm one of the few politicians in the Netherlands that knows that. And I also respect the differences. Also when I do not agree. But when I am critical, it's about another thing. It's about big crime. Big money from the gambling industry. Money from laundering drugs money. The big money, which came in St. Martin, also because of the position of St. Martin, because St. Martin is in between America, the United States on one side, and Colombia and Latin America on the other side.
Yes.
And I know that some people use or make misuse of St. Martin for their criminal activities.
We were talking about big crimes, and I want to stand still by that for a while, because that's one of the major things that you're constantly... I can understand that when a Dutch politician is on a mission in the States, and he or she is always confronted with the fact that you all have to do something about that money laundering on St. Martin, because people talk about it. And I say, okay, let's see how we can do that, because we have the biggest problem in getting our budget balanced.
Yeah, I know.
We can't generate more income.
No.
And we almost can't cut away any flesh anymore, because there's no cutting away of flesh.
Yeah.
And anything else we have to do extra costs money, which we don't have.
Yeah. But there is an easy way to get money.
Help us. Tell me. Talk about it.
One of the first things I did in Parliament was look to big companies in the Antilles, the Dutch Antilles, and I did some research about big companies, for example, New Star, Valero, Anstasia. And I found out that these big companies do not pay taxes. And I did also see that on St. Martin, a lot of companies didn't even have a tax number. So even if they wanted to pay taxes...
Is that so? Is that the case?
Now it's different. Now everybody has a number.
That's what I was...
But not everybody pays taxes.
No, so we have a problem in collecting.
Yeah, but the difference on St. Martin is not that St. Martin is a poor island. No, one of the reasons that a lot of people come to St. Martin is because it's a rich island.
We have a booming economy.
A booming economy, yeah. But there is a big difference between the people. There is a group of people that is extremely rich and do not pay taxes. And there are an awful lot of people who almost have no money, but they need to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And if you solve that problem, to make it more honest, then politicians have more money to make their own policy. Because if I would be elected member of the parliament in St. Martin, for me it would be unacceptable. Because in this situation, politicians on St. Martin don't have any money to make policy.
You see, for quite a while, I'm not defending it, but what I'm trying to is, let's see if we can get it straight to the people.
Yeah.
And because I know that for a long time, we didn't collect taxes because we were short-handed in the tax department.
I know.
And we really didn't. It wasn't a priority at that moment. We had other priorities.
And you had very big difficulties with Curaçao.
Yeah.
Which was also very about everything.
So you're saying that. So what happens is that the tax debt grows. And at a certain moment, when you go to the person that owes a tax, and he owes tax for 10 years, and it's millions, you have to reach to a settlement with this person. Because this person says, if I have to pay millions now, I can just as well close down because I can't pay it. Yeah. And that's the threat people always use. I know it's a threat because I know in a capitalistic world, if you can make a dime, you're going to make that dime. Yeah.
But I'm not talking about ordinary people. I know a lot of ordinary people on St. Martin have a heavy life, are struggling.
Yes.
And there's a lot of poverty. What I'm talking about is the very, very, very rich people on St. Martin who don't pay taxes. Yeah. And this is not acceptable because the ordinary people will pay the price.
But you know, not paying taxes by a rich person, that is a hobby of them. They pay a lot of money to tax specialists.
I know.
That they can pay as less as possible. It's a sport worldwide. So, in that sense, St. Martin is no other than the Frenchman, than the American.
But it's also about the Dutch on St. Martin who don't want to pay taxes.
We all create that kind of a situation. Yeah. And indeed, we had this new government, but I'll get back to that. But indeed, we have decided that, politicians on the island have decided that we must do something about this tax collection. Yeah. Because it always costs us money, because we have to cut a deal. So a piece we have to write off. The former Minister of Finance wrote off a big hump of tax that we have to collect, but they say we can't collect, it's going to cost us too much money, and it's ridiculous, because what we have to do is each year collect the tax that we have to collect in that year. That's it.
That would be very nice.
If I'm entitled, if we're entitled to $10 on the $100, let's see to it that we get our $10 first. And that's kind of agreement you have to make. But it's going to take time. And
but the thing is, this should have been arranged before St. Martin became an autonomous country. And I was against the autonomous status because of this reason, because I said, and everybody can watch that, I said, St. Martin is not ready. And I deeply understand that people on St. Martin wanted to get rid of Curaçao.
We wanted to get out of all the Curaçao.
Of course, because the situation with Curaçao was very bad for St. Martin, because, well, Suriname kept all the money, kept all the saying, and made it impossible for St. Martin. But even in this situation, it was irresponsible to make such a small island an independent country, or an autonomous country, if the institutions are not ready.
You see, we had, I also do some philosophy on that, because when we were going to 10-10-10, indeed there was a certain atmosphere that St. Martin will not be ready on time. But then the government, the island government changed, and I believe William Marlin came in power. Yeah. And William Marlin reboosted the negotiations team that were working on 10-10-10.
Yeah. He did a very good job.
Yes, that's what I said. Yeah. Under demand for whatever you have done. And then in the Netherlands, a certain belief started to grow that, hey, maybe they ain't ready yet, but as this team is working, as we're seeing the development that's going on, maybe we can take that risk and do 10-10-10. Yeah. And we did it. But only after 10-10-10 we got another government. That's always something. But again, a government with William Marlin. Because we forget that, but it was with William Marlin. William Marlin and the Democrat Party, they formed the government. Yeah. But after that the island came on the Curaçao, they got all the problems. Boy, we got a mountain full of problems.
I know, because I saw them coming. I saw them coming.
Because we thought we're getting on the Curaçao, but then we have to fill in all kind of institutions, which we don't have the people for, which we can't staff. And it is, and then you have to start to make priorities. So the priority was, let's try to develop the country as good as possible, and we know that we're failing. We have to have all kind of institutions, high institutions, and we try to do them. But starting a high institution without a budget, it's nothing. Because I believe the ombudsman didn't have a budget for a whole year, and it had to function because it was presented.
Because it was in the rules.
Yeah, it was all. We agreed all of this.
My suggestion was then first start getting people jobs, getting people educated, and getting rich people pay taxes. So when you build a country, you start in the basis with the people. And the mistake that was made, that people started with the institutions. But a country is not an institution. A country is the people. So the people must be ready and must be proud and must be critical and must know that which way to go.
So
and there it started. You started wrong. You cannot have a country with so much differences. There were differences between very rich and very poor people, people who lived, who originated from St. Martin, and people from outside, people with big criminals from all countries in the world, from Latin America, even from the companies from the Netherlands.
And we didn't have the institutions to deal with these kind of things, even to analyze it and to realize what was going on. That is one of the things that happened. But let me go back a bit, because do you read a lot, Mr. Van Raak?
Yes, I even try to read the Daily Herald as much as possible. Digital, of course, digital.
But because, do you know the writer Herman Wouk? He wrote a book, Don't Stop the Carnival.
No, I don't know.
And it's about the islands.
Yeah?
It's about a simple island, a New Yorker that goes down to an island and starts a hotel company and gets involved in the whole island community. And in that book, it's very nice to see that in all these countries, you have a small select group of families, more 6 or 7 families. They form the basis of that country. In St. Martin, we have the same. Yeah. We have 6, 7 families that they form St. Martin, the basis of St. Martin. Anything that happens on St. Martin, they are direct or indirect involved, and you can't go around the family.
No, but that gives these families a very big responsibility.
Yeah.
So these families in this situation are not only responsible for themselves, for their own money and their own positions, but for the whole country and for the whole people. There's a public interest, and they need to be there not only for their own family, but also for the public interest, because you cannot have a country when the elite, when the big families, when the politicians only think about themselves.
Okay, but it's but you don't even notice it, because for the average man, he never gets involved with the big families or know what the big families.
People know.
People know how it goes, but what would you tell us, Mr. Van Raak? How should we tackle this issue? Because it's a big issue. We have to deal with international policy. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure on money laundering.
Yes.
We should make no mistake about it, and we know it.
Yeah.
And I hear politicians say they want to do something about the money laundering. Let them send the people with the budget. We'll give them the office and let them work. But that whole money laundering is part of our grey economy.
I know.
And when you really tackle it to the bone, it's gonna influence our economy, one way or the other, in a negative way. Because people who works now are getting work in that, let's say, that grey section. Not they're doing really anything illegal, but it has a certain sense to it. But they're going to lose a job.
Yeah, but the big criminals, they don't make jobs on St. Martin. They only make problems. And I don't know what people on St. Martin must do, because it's up to the people on St. Martin to decide what to do. I respect that. I'm a socialist. But the first thing we need to do, I think, is being honest to each other, to learn to know each other, and being honest. And when I talk to a politician on St. Martin and talk about corruption and money laundering and the problems in the gambling industry and about discrimination also on St. Martin, people coming from Haiti or Dominican Republic, politicians say we have no problems. And I know this is not true because I also speak with other people on St. Martin who tell me the truth.
Oh, the truth? How can you define that what other people tell you is true? Because I'm going to something. I'm telling you, I'm building a bridge here because you are the man, for instance, that I think the last 6 months. No, you're the man that said, "Thank God, Theo Heiliger didn't become Prime Minister of St. Martin," and it had a very negative connotation. And I was surprised, to tell you the truth. Because Theo Heiliger is a local politician, very loved because he's the man that got the most votes. Now you can say he bought those votes, but let's say that everybody can buy votes or everybody sell votes or whatever. But fact is that he's a loved politician. He's leader of the biggest party, and then you hear a politician in Holland saying, "Thank God that man didn't become Prime Minister," which means to say, thank God that the will of the people hasn't been respected. I find that strange because I don't find that very.
I didn't say that. Thank God Theo Heiliger did not become president. I said
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. Theo Heiliger cannot be Prime Minister because he cannot go to a screening. That is the problem. There is no screening in the world that can make Theo Heiliger Prime Minister. That is the problem. And also, in this case, we must be honest. We start, if there is a future for St. Martin, for the people on St. Martin, you need honest leaders.
Yeah, we all need honest leaders. But let me continue for a while on this Theo Heiliger thing, because I think here we're touching an issue that is very, very much worth looking closely. You're seeing there is no screening process in the world that can accept or allow Theo to become a minister. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Based on what?
Oh, yeah.
No, based on. There has never been a case against Theo Heiliger. There has never, the public, the prosecution office never even asked the man in for any kind of an investigation. Nobody ever made any complaints, and still you can say he couldn't pass the screening.
Yeah.
Then, which means, you should know more, much more. And then I say, then if you know so much more, then you should make a case against it, because as far as I can see, and I'm not a very intimate of what happens on St. Martin. I'm just trying to be an analyst to the political situation. But then, if there's so much against Theo that we know he couldn't pass the screening, why hasn't he been brought before? Why is it that there's no case against Theo?
I'm not a judge.
No.
But I saw a case where some policemen were brought to the judge.
3, to be precise.
3 for buying of votes, and the judge said, "These people are not the problem. When I look at this case, there's another problem: the leading of the UP."
Yeah.
So a judge on St. Martin said, there are very big problems. She has seen documents, the research, and the buying of votes. And this judge says there's a very big problem with the leadership of the UP. Well, if a judge says these kinds of things, based on the evidence he has seen, then somebody cannot become a minister. Just as simple as that. Then first there must be an investigation. First there must be a court case.
There must be everything. And again, what is wrong is wrong. You don't have to try to make something wrong right, because wrong is wrong. So there's no problem there. But what I'm saying is, indeed, there was a court case about selling of votes, buying of votes. In this case, the case was the UP party, of people from the UP party buying votes from policemen.
Yeah.
Because, we tend to forget, but in St. Martin, people will come up to you and tell you,
I know.
I have 20 votes for you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I believe in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what are we going to do for these 20 people?
Yeah. I know.
So it's not only buying, it's also the offering a vote.
Yeah.
And now you can't...
And people lose a job when a politician is not elected.
People are tight.
I know.
But and then in that case, the judge said, listen, why are you only sentencing 2 persons or 3 persons? Because, in my opinion, this couldn't have happened if the leadership of the party didn't know about it.
Exactly.
They should have had knowledge of what was going on and so on. So I believe that I will not pass a sentence because I think you should look deeper at it.
Exactly.
It's a philosophy of a judge, but it was not. But it was not a conviction of a judge.
No, but
because
the judge says
Theo was not on stand.
No,
Theo was not. It was so you can't condemn a person that's not there, because as you say,
But the judge said he should be on stand.
The judge said it should be investigated.
Exactly.
I think you need investigation on that, and that's why I will not pass sentence on this thing.
Exactly.
Very clear, no mistake about it.
But in this case, when this is the case, somebody cannot become a minister. Just as simple as that.
Now, I don't know. I tell you the truth. I don't know the screening rules because it's not known. It's one thing. It's not open to the public. Nobody knows where the ministers are being screened on or not.
Let me tell you my dilemma.
Yeah.
Because the dilemma is as this. I am a member of parliament in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
St. Martin is part of the kingdom.
Yes.
There is no kingdom government and there is no kingdom parliament.
No.
In practice, the ministers in the Netherlands are a big majority in the government of the kingdom, and the second chamber in The Hague is in practice the parliament of the kingdom. And the problem is, people on St. Martin cannot vote for me.
They cannot elect you.
They cannot elect me. But still I have a responsibility within the kingdom for good governance on St. Martin.
Of course, that's the charter.
And that's the charter, and that's the problem, that people on St. Martin cannot say, I will vote for Ronald Van Raak or I will vote against Ronald Van Raak. They have no say in the Dutch parliament, which in practice is the parliament of the kingdom. But still, we as a parliament within the kingdom have a responsibility for good governance on St. Martin. Well, this is an impossible situation. And as long as this situation exists, we will fight each other. And there's only one solution: being honest to each other and make a choice. And the people on St. Martin have a choice. When people on St. Martin say, okay, we don't want the Dutch to mingle with our business, I respect that. I'm a socialist. I respect when people say, we want to go our own way.
We determined it.
But then you must lose me from this burden that I'm still responsible for good governance on St. Martin. Then I don't want this burden anymore and this responsibility anymore. Or people on St. Martin say, well, the way the things are going now on St. Martin are not good. We don't have a future in this way. And we want the Dutch to take their responsibility. And then we must have the possibility to fight the very big criminals and to free the people of St. Martin from the very big international criminals. And that's a choice that the people on St. Martin need to make.
And will make.
I hope so, because
in the end they will make it, because we all are convinced that we can't continue in this way.
Yeah.
And we can't always be fighting each other because we have a relationship of 400 years and
but
more.
the reason we are fighting is not because I want to fight.
No. It's because you want to carry your responsibility.
I have a responsibility, and we, as members of the second chamber in the Netherlands, we have a responsibility we cannot live up to. People look at me from St. Martin, and they say, how is it possible that such big international criminals, such big money, makes our future on St. Martin? And the only thing I can say, well, I can't do very much.
Maybe you have noticed it, but I try to avoid the issue of big criminal and money laundering, because that for me is an issue on its own.
Yeah.
I just try to look at it politically and.
But there is an involvement.
Yeah, of course.
There is so much, because St. Martin is a very small country, a small island, but there is very big money. And in this situation, not only on St. Martin, but everywhere in the world, when there is a small country and very big criminal money, of course there's corruption. That's almost automatically. So what we need to do is not only make rules for politicians, which is very important, but we need to fight the very big criminals, the big bad money. And I hope we can do this together with the United States, which is also involved on St. Martin at the moment because of the money laundering, the drugs money. And I hope we can do that together with the people on St. Martin. But only if the people on St. Martin want us to mingle in their business.
Listen, I am convinced that St. Martin wants a solution to this problem. Yeah. I am convinced. And the form in which it should take place, it's about discussing it with each other, what is more effective. Because as I stated also, we have to look at our budget and we can't afford it. We just can't pay it.
No, I know.
But not only that, we also have to bear in mind that we have people working now in St. Martin, maybe in a great field. Your point is big money doesn't bring any employment to the country.
Not much.
It doesn't bring any employment to the country because it's just about laundering the money.
Yeah.
And the small man is not involved in that. So
not much.
But somebody is involved in that. And somebody is making money out of it. And somebody is spending that money on St. Martin.
No, I don't know. There are some very rich criminals, but they don't go to ordinary people to do their groceries.
No, of course not.
No, they have their money outside, somewhere. Maybe on banks in Switzerland, I don't know. But this is not good for the economy of St. Martin.
Do you honestly believe that a small community like St. Martin can fight international money launderers?
No, only if the people on St. Martin are prepared to fight together with the Dutch and the Americans. And this is the situation now that I think the Americans have called with the Dutch government and said, this is going wrong. There is too much mafia money now on this moment on St. Martin. And we need to do, yes, and we need to do something about it.
And where is this mafia money? Because I'm learning now. I'm the one that's learning here. Where is this mafia money on St. Martin? Is it in real estate? Is it in, do they fund the government? Where is this money?
Money laundering is with banks, free zones, lotteries, casinos. There are a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And there's also responsible of the Netherlands here, because in the 90s, the Dutch made a banking system, a free zone system, offshore, things like that, fiscalists, specialists, to make sure that big international companies could come to St. Martin not to pay taxes. Also money laundering. And now, in the 90s, this was for international businesses, but now it's also for the international mafia, who makes use of the same institutions.
Now we're talking almost a half an hour on international money laundering and the mafia, and I live on St. Martin.
Yeah.
And I walk around St. Martin every day. And I will not accept that I am living in a mafia country.
No, you're not.
No, we're
yet.
not living in a mafia country. No. And we are... I don't...
You're living in a beautiful country.
I live in a very beautiful country, and I would like to remain living in that beautiful country. And I think we St. Martiners, we are a little bit tired of hearing always mafia, and we're being connected to mafia, because we have a complete other perception of mafia. The mafia we know is the mafia from Hollywood, where you have shooting and killings and all of this. Not on our St. Martin.
No.
We don't have that.
No.
And we don't want to be associated with that. Yeah. So what can we do? Of course, we have the integrity reports. Both integrity reports also refer to money laundering and mafia and
big corruption.
And big corruption. Or let's say, what do we understand on the big corruption? They talk about corruption, that things are not in place.
Buying politicians, buying civil servants. But let's make one thing very clear.
Yeah.
I love St. Martin, and I love the people on St. Martin. That is the reason why I'm engaged. Most politicians in the Netherlands don't care. If you don't hear from them, it's because they don't care. I do care. But if I criticize in the Netherlands building companies or banks because they are corrupt, I don't hate the Dutch people. I hate the people who are corrupt.
Definitely.
And if I criticize the mafia on St. Martin, I criticize the mafia on St. Martin. Not the ordinary people on St. Martin, because I know that they are the first victim of the mafia on St. Martin. And we must always make a difference between the people who are the victim and the group of bad guys.
You know how much law firms we have on St. Martin?
I know, but must be very much.
Very, very lot.
Yeah.
And why? Because there is always international business or transaction or mergers or whatever. Yeah. Not for St. Martin.
No.
Because on St. Martin it's not that. No. But still they are there on St. Martin and they are doing their business and so on. And guess what?
I think St. Martin should take more care of the people of St. Martin. And now some people on St. Martin are only busy with international companies. Bad companies.
But because I want to guess what? It's all in hands of European Dutch.
Of course.
The whole legal system is in hand of European Dutch.
Yeah.
And sometimes I experienced it once. I was in court because I took the university to court. And how the judge and the lawyer of the university, how they were making jokes with each other, and it has a high, jongens krentenbrood gehouden, studenticoos, I will call it. Because it can happen on St. Martin.
But
it was over us.
I totally agree that there is much too much influence from people from outside St. Martin. People from the Netherlands, people from Italy, from the mafia, people from America, companies. There are a lot of people in the world that make use or misuse of St. Martin. I totally understand that. And if St. Martin has a future, it must be a future in the hands of the people of St. Martin. But as you said, there are some families on St. Martin. And if you vote for one of the families.
Yeah.
That makes you also independent. So the system now the political system is also a system of independence.
Of dependency, you mean?
Yeah, from the voters. Yeah. People do not have a free vote if they are dependent for their job or for their money.
A or family B or family C.
Of course, yeah. So this is not, of course, it's free democracy and a free choice. But what free choice do you have if you're dependent of some family, some guy, for your job, for your money, for your future?
But, Ronald, with all respect, It's true. That's what the situation is, and you don't change that from one day to the other. What you need a new generation of politicians. Politicians that don't want to be businessmen. You're a politician or you're a businessman.
Exactly.
If you want to be businessman, go do your business.
And now a lot of politicians are businessmen.
Yeah, one of the problems is, and let me say it because then no one says, our politicians on St. Martin are the best paid politician in the whole kingdom.
I know.
$12,000 today.
Yeah.
$12,000 a month.
Yeah. I get $3,000.
But as an SPer.
As an SPer.
You get more, but it goes to the party.
Yeah.
But a politician here makes $7,800, $7,800. But we make it on St. Martin $12,000.
Yeah.
And what happens is that these politicians believe they have so much money they can do everything now.
Yeah.
Now they're businessmen. And they want to get involved in all kind of things because everybody wants to make a dollar for himself. And if you have money, they believe you can make money with money.
Yeah.
But guess what? From the 15 parliamentarians, 11 are in financial problems. With the 12,000, 11, because they have high mortgages to pay for the houses, for the cars, the lifestyle is a very expensive lifestyle.
Yes.
And then even with $12,000, you run short.
Yeah.
11 of the 15.
Well, they are. Then they are not the right people.
No, apart if they're the right people or not, but that's one of the things is suddenly people get so much money and so much power that they don't know how to deal with it. So
the solution is give them less money.
Oh boy.
Give them less money.
I have proposed.
Start with half of it, which is more than enough.
I would believe something.
Because being a member of parliament in the Netherlands, it's 7 days a week, but being a member of parliament in St. Martin, it's not 7 days a week.
Oh no, it is 24/7. It should be 24/7, but it turns out to be 1/6 or 1/5 or whatever. Of course, that's one of the things I criticize a lot, but I am bringing this point because it shows that you need a new generation of politicians.
Yeah.
You have to keep the political parties accountable for who they are putting on the list and why they're putting on the list and how do they prepare these people for that important job that they have to do. So political parties have to be developed also. And then if you do all of this kind of thing, then you are on a way of trying to make a change.
Yeah.
But if we don't, because today, a young politician starts out in a existing party. Within half a year, he's just one of...
We saw Patrick Illich.
What's with Patrick Illich?
Well, we saw he is convicted.
Is he convicted? I don't know whether he's convicted.
Patrick Illich from the Bada Bing case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is he convicted? Then I missed that. Oh. I missed that. I'm a month here. I knew that his case was to come forth in January. I missed that, but not only Patrick Illich. We saw it with the one from Up is also convicted for fiscal.
But I know that there is a new generation of St. Martin who wants clean politics.
Yeah.
But I very much agree with you that if young people get in this system, they will also maybe be bought.
They be corrupted because that's the system.
So the only thing to make sure that people cannot be corrupted is to get rid of the bad money. And that is why I always tell St. Martin only has a future if the big bad money stays out. And St. Martin needs the help of America and the Netherlands, the United States and the Netherlands, to get out of the bad money.
I have a quarter of an hour to go now, and I would like to discuss with you the future. Yes, so Ronald, as we said, of course, St. Martin has a future. And we are at a cross point now that we cannot continue the way we were going. We will have to make changes, but we will need very much help. How do you believe that you as a parliamentarian here in Holland, feeling involved with the islands, feeling involved with St. Martin, what can you do to help us to that new future? Help us on the way. I mean, you can't take us to the future because we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
But what would you advise us? What are your thoughts on that? Which direction do we have to? I'm going to tell you something. I am going back the 6th of March. The 7th, I'm back on St. Martin. And I will be having a talk with a couple of people on whether it is worth it thinking of independence. That's a discussion we're going to have about is it worth to become independent on our own. But becoming independent has also a big problem because that we saw with 10-10-10 when we thought we have to come out on that Curacao, and we got lots of problems. So, but that's going to be a discussion point. Is that a point you say, guys, look at it? Because I believe myself that the Charter gives us enough room for development. We haven't explored the Charter for its fullest. So there is room there. So you have this thing, stay in the kingdom, in the Charter, but using it on a better way, or saying, you know, now, let's go more Caribbean, so let's make us loose from Europe and go more to but you see the East Caribbean states, the Organization of East Caribbean States can tell you a lot about what I meant because they left Europe behind them too. And you can see what's happening on those islands. What must we, I'm not asking you what must we do, but what are your thoughts on that? What would you advise us to look at?
If the people on St. Martin need help, we will give help. I'm also always very critical about the politicians on St. Martin, but when there's a cry for help, I will listen. And if St. Martin wants to be independent, I respect that. And I'm sure that also politicians in the Netherlands will respect that. But then still, the problems will stay. If St. Martin stays part of the kingdom, if St. Martin becomes part of the Netherlands, or St. Martin becomes independent, it's all possible, but the problems stay.
Yeah, and you haven't dealt with the problem yet.
And that's also the problem with 10-10-10. It didn't solve the problems.
No.
And so we must first think about what are the real problems and how can we manage them. Well, of course, I told you a lot of times, I think a problem is the big bad money, but also a problem is how can people from outside integrate within the society of St. Martin? And also, how can there be jobs for the people on St. Martin? How can there be a stimulus for the economy? There are some points, some answers some questions that need to be answered. And it's up to the people and on the politicians on St. Martin to think in what way the Netherlands can help or cannot help.
We have to get away from that mono economy culture that we have. Only tourism, we have more things. I believe that we have to look our educational system. We can become a university or an educator for the Caribbeans because we have the possibilities, but then we'll have to stimulate our people to go into education and try to make the best of it. But then you'll have to have a blueprint for what you want. But I saw it in Cyprus, for instance, how they are educated. A lot of university people come from all over the world just to study there because that's the product they make. I believe we can make that product. We have a medical university now, an American medical university on the island. We have our St. Martin University that has to be boomed. That I believe that is also a way to keep our children in the region, because the fact that the children leave the islands and go to Europe, we lose them.
Of course, that's a big problem.
They don't return, we lose them. And instead of keeping them more in the region and then keep them closer to St. Martin, that we can profit of their knowledge. So it's a part of...
But it starts all with being honest about the problems.
And I know defining the problem.
I know, and there's also a big difference in culture, because, as you know, people in the Netherlands are very direct. And people in the Caribbean are very indirect.
We go around it. We go around it.
Exactly. And in 450 years, we didn't come together. But we need to. We know who we are. You people on St. Martin know that how people in the Netherlands work. And I think the people in the Netherlands need to know how the people on St. Martin work. It starts all with you. The Dutch like it if you are honest. If you in your achievements, but also in your problems. And if we can define the problems on St. Martin together, I'm sure we can find a solution together. But if we still live in two separate worlds with different languages and different perceptions, then we will not be able to find a solution together.
It is indeed, I believe, looking at your problem seriously and saying, this is my problem. If you know what your problem is, you're on the way of a solution.
That's what every philosopher says.
If you know what the problem is, you're on the way of a solution. It doesn't say that it will happen quick or soon, but at least you know where you're going.
But then we have something to fight for together. Then we have a future to fight for, and what we have now is only making each other's life worse, and that's not the way we need to do it.
You know, Mr. Van Raak, Ronald, let me tell you something. You have the reputation to be a very anti-Samaritan person because you're very critical. No, but when I listen to you and I see you and we talk about this, I say, the man loves the country. He wants to see, you want the best for St. Martin. You want to see St. Martin develop itself to its possibilities, but on a clean way.
That's the only way.
There's only one way. That's clean. The only one way is the good way.
That's the only way.
When was your last visit to St. Martin?
That was not this year, but last year, January.
January 2000. With the IPCO.
Exactly.
The IPCO group. And there is another IPCO coming up somewhere in June, I believe, June, July. But that, I don't know if it's going to be
in the Netherlands, I suppose.
It will be in the Netherlands. But did you ever been on St. Martin on holidays as a private person?
No, I've been on St. Martin 3 times.
Always professional.
Always professional.
Maybe you should start thinking to go.
That's a very good idea.
On holidays, because I think the people will like you. I must say that I enjoyed this conversation because I also had my idea, because I said, how can that guy in Holland be talking this thing about St. Martin? Who's this informant and so on? And I see that you're well informed, and it's not that important who the informant is. More important is what you're going to do with the information. And I see that you have that very much with you. I want to thank you, Mr. Van Raak.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For
I tried to do my best.
No, you did more than your best. I am convinced that the people in St. Martin, after they hear this interview, will have another idea of the Van Raak, because I think we touch a couple of things. And yes, the big, bad, ugly money must be fought, but we cannot do it on our own. So we will need you, Mr. Van Raak, to convince at least 73 or 74 of your colleagues in Parliament that because there is a perception that people believe that Holland sends a lot of money to St. Martin. Hey, from 10, 10, 10, no, Holland sent a cent.
No, I know.
And still, if you speak to the average Dutchman, they say, all money going there. But what we will need is that we should make a program together in how we're going to deal with the future. And there we should find the funds for it, because I believe there's also European funds that you can make use of if you have a program good enough. But I know by European funds it's co-financing. You have to bring in a piece of your own, and we don't have much, so that we'll have to discuss with each other. And there's where you can help the islands in committing yourself and try to help find a solution for a new St. Martin.
Let's hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.